I'd make a short circuit joke here, but one, everybody's already made it, and two, stories about machines suddenly gaining human souls have existed long before Short Circuit. I mean, look at the works of Isaac Asimov, Philip K. Dick, Richard Matheson, Osamu Tezuka, Shotaro Ishinomori, and that's just to name a few. Besides, Blomkamp got an actual Indian actor this time. If you like District 9, then you will pretty much like this film. Why am I starting the review like that, you ask? Well, one, if you already like the filmmaker's style, then there's no point in really watching this review. You've probably already decided whether or not you're going to go see it. And the reason why I say District 9 specifically is because Chappie is very similar in its overall presentation. It's not done in documentary style, but it does have that same raw, gritty cinematography that we've all come to expect from the filmmaker. Story-wise, the film appears to have a very fast pace at the beginning, but it's not without its slow moments that allow for some genuine character development, especially when you consider the fact that it's structured around watching Chappie slowly learn and grow. It's a lot like Pinocchio when you really think about it. And although the characters weren't complex, they weren't had multi-layered backstories, they at least felt like real people and had clear motivations that were easy to understand. Even Hugh Jackman's character, who may as well have had "I'm the bad guy" tattooed on his forehead. Now, without spoiling the film, and to kind of show that these characters at least are easy to understand, the best way to look at it is that Dev Patel's character is Dr. Light, whereas Hugh Jackman's character is Dr. Wily. And then you've pretty much got the characters that are kind of the outlaws that have Chappie in the first place. I mean, you've obviously got the mother, you've got the guy who's greedy but slowly softens up, and okay, there are some problems with the side characters now that I actually think about it. When it comes to the action in this film, it gets to be fairly over the top like your typical R-rated action film. I mean, yeah, there's blood and there's very realistic injuries depicted here, but when you have a character that has the mind of the child and the strength of the Incredible Hulk, and he's smashing Wolverine around in an office building, it puts a little bit of a strain on your suspension of disbelief a little bit. That same statement could be used to describe the third act of the film, which pretty much is rushing headfirst to what is more or less a non-ending. I mean, it doesn't have the open-ended optimism of District 9, nor does it have the satisfying conclusion of Elysium. It just kind of stops at a point where you know what the characters are kind of doing, but it has some fairly horrifying repercussions when you take the time to think about it. From a technical standpoint, it's a well-crafted film that makes pretty skillful use of visual effects in order to bring sci-fi technology to life in a realistic and believable way. It actually feels like how this stuff would actually come about if real people and a real company were developing it. And I also kind of like the fact that you have this sense of grit and despair, this harsh, gritty imagery, but then it's also juxtaposed by moments of bright colors and soft imagery, soft, calming imagery to kind of establish this sense of childlike innocence Chappie has at first, and how that almost gets completely shattered when he's thrown into the real world, when he's thrown and forced to confront a lot of these darker, grittier aspects of the place he's growing up in. Overall, the people at Wired put it best when they say that this film is an R-rated fairy tale. It tells a very simple, relatable story that more or less takes the nature part out of the nature versus nurture debate, and also kind of explores what it's probably like to grow up in such a harsh environment where crime is rampant everywhere alongside rampant poverty. On top of that, what separates this film from a film like Elysium is that it's not trying to deliver some sort of overt metaphor or heavy-handed messages. It keeps it simple, and it allows those elements to have more of an impact as a result. Like I said before, if you enjoyed Blomkamp's previous films, then you will probably enjoy this film as well. Is it the best science fiction out there? No, it has some problems, but it possessed this earnestness, this passion that I haven't really been seeing from genre films that have been coming out lately. I mean, if they fixed the third act, or at the very least gave us a proper bookend to kind of tie things back to the opening that was almost in a docudrama style, it could have been better. So, with that said, I'd best recommend seeing this at a matinee or at a dollar theater. It's not so bad that I would condemn it to Netflix or Redbox, but it's not that great that I would highly recommend going to see it in IMAX. And it's not like it's showing in 3D, so really, it's worth seeing in the theaters, just don't pay for the most expensive showings. Simply put, it's an above average and more or less enjoyable film if you're the kind of person that likes smart science fiction. I wouldn't put it up there with, say, something like Interstellar or 2001: A Space Odyssey, but it has its merits. It's just a little bit hobbled by the third act. Also, I've said this before, and I'll say it again, Kojima, Arid, get Neill Blomkamp on board for the Metal Gear Solid movie. He's like the perfect director. I mean, he had a freaking Metal Gear in this movie. I'm not kidding. It's a walking tank. I mean, come on. Sony's distributing Blomkamp's movies. You could probably make the phone call. Anyway, all of that said, Chappie gets a 4 out of 5. So that's it for this episode of Romney's Reviews. Thank you for watching. I'll see you all next time.